Alright guys, this is JJ Wilson. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to be doing a review for this anime series, manga series, GANGSTA Volume 6. Talked to a fellow YouTuber of mine the other night about doing this since he requested it, basically. So I think by demand, since I haven't seen anybody else do this, I think I'll just go ahead and give a rundown of the whole volume of that latest chapter or series, GANGSTA. And I think, yeah, this is going to be quite lengthy because there's a lot of detail here. And fair warning, if you don't want to hear this review, then I suggest reading the manga first. So just a warning, there will be spoilers here, and this is going to take some time to go over. So I suggest anybody that stopped at volume 5 or they just looked at the anime, please don't continue the video. Just probably hold off until you read volume 6 or purchase it until then. So alright, let's get into it. Starting off with chapter 29, I think the first significant thing in that chapter is the death of Doug. You know, the little guy. Well, he actually wasn't a kid. He was actually over 20. He's about 21 years old. He ends up dying at the hands of Colt, one of the destroyers on that team that was hired by Corsica to kill all the Twilights. And so Galahad, you know, finds his body. I mean, we see that in the last episode in the anime series. So he recovers his body, and the Pockley Guild they're doing a cleanup. So they're cleaning up all the dead bodies. There was like 40 casualties altogether. I mean, not 40 deaths, 98 casualties. So Halson, one of the generals on that guild, he spots Galahad, and he notices that he's carrying Doug, who's already dead. It's like, oh man, there you are, Galahad. We've been looking for you. He's like, yeah man, long time no see. So sometime later on, he goes into the room. Turns out Galahad used to be roommates with Doug, because he found him as a kid when he was much younger, when he was actually a little boy. And so they kind of grew up together in the guild a little bit. And I guess Doug learned a lot of his skills from Galahad, it seems. So I thought that was pretty interesting there. And so what happens next is Galahad's in his room. They're in the room where they stay together. He takes off the tag that Doug wears, and he has like a little device, and it shows holograms. So he takes off that tag and he sticks it inside the opening in there, so he can view the video. And it turns out to be Doug's will. Doug has a will for Galahad in case something bad happened to him. And he has, in that hologram will, he has Nicholas Brown, one of the handymen. He's there as a witness. And so for there, he's telling Galahad, hey, take all my stuff, you know, if you want whatever it is you want to have, you can take it, you know. And you know, he's like, yeah man, I talked to Dr. Theo, the guy at the clinic, Dr. Theo. He's like, man, I'm only gonna live to be like 25, you know. And he was telling about how his parents died young and all that stuff. So he's like, yeah, I mean, if anything happens to me, I just want you to hear this, you know what I'm saying? And also, what else did he say? Yeah, he's like, he's glad he met somebody like him, you know. So he really looked up to Galahad. I mean, even his dreadlocks, we found out his dreadlock hairstyle is inspired by Galahad. And that one little pamphlet we see there, you know, he actually rechanged his hairstyle because he didn't always have dreads. So I thought that was pretty funny there. And so later on, Galahad has to leave. You know, he has to go back to meet his boss. Not necessarily his boss, but the person he's protecting, Loretta Cristiano. So he has to go leave there. And then later on in this chapter, turns out we go back to see the destroyers. And so Sig, the two females in that group, Sig and Beretta. Sig is teasing Stryker for failing his mission to kill Daniel Monroe. And she's giving him hell for that. And he didn't like that, you know. He didn't do anything. But then Beretta was like, hey, come here, I want you to see something. And it's like, wait, it's like, hold on, what are you talking about? So he goes over there, and she opens the door, and it turns out it's Connie, Marco's little girlfriend or whatnot, the daughter of the old lady, Joelle Reveau. So they find her in there, she's all hogtied and everything. And Stryker commends Beretta for becoming a remarkable woman, in a sense. So he was very pleased to see that they did find somebody of interest. Looks like I don't have much time with this recording, so I guess I have to break this up into parts here. So I'm gonna jump on chapter 30 right quick, and then I'll have to see about making this audio recording longer. Now in chapter 30, it starts off with Delico remembering his sister when they were kids, and he's kind of remembering the time where she got kidnapped by somebody masked up. We don't really see who it is. And so he's dreaming about that, and then he wakes up because the little girl that they found in volume 5, Heather, she's trying to talk to him. She's like, hey, what are you doing? Why you spazzing out? You know, and he kind of tells like, man, I was just thinking about what I should do once I find Erica. And he finally just says it, like, when I do find her, I'm gonna have to kill her. I mean, I'm happy that she's alive and all, but I think to have some closure, I just need to go ahead and just end her life for what she's done, her recent crimes, you know, killing off Twilights and everything. And so we go back to Dr. Theo's, and you know, Allie, she wants Warwick to stop leaving her at the office. Like, she's talking to Warwick because he's still recovering, because from that fall that he had, that we saw in volume 5 and also in the anime where he was fighting Stryker. So basically she was just telling him like, hey, you know, I'm not this girl that you can just always leave me behind, you know. I do want to help you guys out and things like that. And then she remembers the time where she was looking at the Emilio, and she started to tear up about that, expressing her feelings as to he was so young, he shouldn't have she shouldn't have left him behind like that, and he's probably dead. And War was like, he basically comes, grabs her and hugs her and stuff like, hey, I don't want to hear that. I don't care about that stuff. Right now I just want to hear you sing, you know. And while he does that, we get fan service. We get a tee shot. He's groping her ass while he's telling her all this. And so I was like, no, like, you need to stop that. And Alex like, stop it. But even though he was teasing her, like, she still thanked him for, you know, trying to make it okay, things like that. And so we move on, and then we see that Alex is singing at Bastard. You know, she goes back to, you know, doing her main job, her other job, singing at the club. And everybody's back at work. All the Cristiano family's back at work, and we even see Nina, who was invited to sing with her. And I thought that was pretty good. That was pretty cool to see. And Nick was there too. He was at the club, even though he couldn't hear it. Obviously, he was there at the club, I guess, to watch over Nina and watch Alex too. Then later on, we see him later on go back to Dr. Theo's clinic. Now, while there, Warwick is still recovering, of course, and he's talking to Inspector Atkins, the police guy. He's over there. The reason why he goes to the clinic is he wants to find out who these destroyer guys are. And of course, you know, Warwick has that special ability to remember everything. And he remembers people's faces and what their occupations are and all that stuff. He's got ridiculous memory. So he's basically telling them, yeah, man, this Stryker dude is a beast, you know. He has tattoo, he's got the silver hair, he's tall and mean and stuff like that. But yeah, the reason Nick comes back is he wants to see Dr. Theo, and Dr. Theo gives him a special drug, and this drug is called A2710. And so we don't really know about the drug's effects until later on, but basically once he gives it to him, he's like, hey, you need to, like, be careful with this drug, man. You know, I don't really care what happens to you afterwards. And Nicholas pretty much insults him, like, man, you're a terrible doctor. He actually tells him that, even though he's deaf, he actually talks to him. He's like, you're a terrible doctor, Dr. Theo. And Dr. Theo's like, of course I am. I know this. Let's see what else happens. Yeah, before the chapter ends, we basically see there's a scene on there where back at District 7, Erica is about to kill yet another Twilight family under the watchful eye of Ivan. You know, the guy that was kind of behind the scenes, like he's working for Daniel Monroe, but he's really behind the scenes, you know, ordering Erica and the little kid Michael to do these little Twilight hunts and stuff like that. And he pretty much states part of the reason why he's doing this. Ivan says that, hey, Twilights need to be eliminated because the numbers are getting bigger. Like they're out. I guess the birth rate is higher than the normal human birth rate, and because of that, they all got to die. And so that's the end of that chapter 30. All right, on to chapter 31. So in this chapter, Delico and Yang eventually find the warehouse where Erica, Ivan, and Michael are located. And so in order to execute a plan, Delico decides to put himself in a disguise. Not necessarily disguise, but he wears a long hooded jacket. But Michael finds out that someone is out there intruding outside the warehouse. So he goes along and tries to see who it is because he wants a fight. You know, the kid's rowdy as hell. He wants a battle. And Erica's like, wait a minute, where you going? Michael, stop. So Ivan's like, man, this kid's not trained enough. Which is interesting because it seems like I guess Ivan, or I guess he knows how the kid's got his fighting skills from, which I thought was interesting. And so Michael eventually spots this intruder, and he's like, hey, do you have a tag? I want your tag. And of course the guy in the hood doesn't say anything, and then he ends up running off. So there's a chase, and Michael eventually catches up to him, and they start fighting, and he takes the hood off, and it is indeed Delico. And then I think with the help of Yang, he eventually hide themselves within another part of that warehouse, like another abandoned warehouse. They're hiding, and for a moment they get away from Michael, but then they hear some more footsteps until Nicholas steps in. Nicholas, the handyman, he steps in, and Delico and Yang got scared. They pull guns out, and Nicholas stops both of them by pointing the sword at Delico's neck. It's like, uh-oh, trouble. But it turns out it wasn't trouble. Nicholas is over there, and the reason why is because he wants to find out what's been going on with these Twilight Hunters, these two characters, Erica and Michael. And before they decide to go out there and fight those two again, Nicholas pretty much gives them Delico and Yang a verbatim. He basically tells them, you have 3 chances. You have three chances to catch Erica alive. And if you don't catch either Erica or Michael alive, I'm killing Erica straight up. You know, so you only get 3 shots. Now, interestingly enough, he wants Michael alive because he feels like if he catches Michael, then somehow, you know, either Michael or Erica, somehow they can find a lead on Connie, because that's the real reason why he went over there. They're trying to look for Connie. So, well, Nick is trying to look for Connie. So later on in this chapter, yeah, they go back out there. They find Erica and Michael again. Delico pursues Erica, and for a moment they stop and they look at each other. And he's pretty much telling Erica, like, do you recognize me? I'm your brother, Delico. Can you remember anything? You know, and she's pretty much not there, man. It's like she's not listening to anything he's saying, and she's pretty much ready to chop him until Nick comes in and he stops. Was it Nick or Yang? I think it was Nick. He pretty much stops her from attacking, and then the boy comes in and they start fighting again, him and Michael. They start fighting again. And I think this is where Nick takes that special drug from Dr. Theo, the A2710. And so now it's pretty much a one-on-one fight between Nick and Michael, and Delico. Yeah, who was it? Yeah, Delico and Yang are fighting off Erica, and they're trying to shoot her down with downers, but It's just not working. They cannot get any kind of attack against her at all. Like, she's just deflecting everything. And I think that's pretty much the end of that chapter. So, chapter 32. Chapter 32. Alright, for chapter 32, this is like in the middle of the volume 6. So, Alex is still at Bastard. She's at the club. She just got done singing. So she calls Warwick up. And she's asking about Connie. Did they hear any details about her? Did, you know... Actually, Warwick asks about Connie. Alex says, no, I haven't seen her. And then Warwick asks about Nicholas. And then she says the same thing. Well, he's not here. I thought he might be there with you. So, what's going on? And then that's when Warwick got very concerned. And then he looks at Dr. Theo because he feels that Dr. Theo must have gave him something. And that's why Nick decided to just all of a sudden run off. And he's not there. So we go back into the fight. And Nick, after he takes the drug, man, he has a superior advantage against this kid Michael, man. Like, he pretty much does this boy up. He crushes this kid in a wall. And he's all geeked up from the drug. And so, yeah, but, you know, later on Michael does recover from that, you know, and then they start fighting off again. And then it cuts to the scene where the little girl Heather, she wakes up, and then she turns out she's all by herself. And she's very upset about that because she's starting to feel a bond between Delico and Yang, and yet, you know, they were just using me. That's how she was thinking in her mind. I can't believe they would ditch me like that. They were using me to try to get to whatever it was they wanted. And in the end, I was just a pawn. You know, she starts crying about that until she remembers Delico helping her, you know, buy her sandals because, you know, they did care about her, you know. They just didn't want her to get killed, basically. And Delico buys them a jacket, buys Heather a jacket, so that she can stay warm and stuff because it's getting cold, and you know they want her to be comfortable. And then she remembers the time about her little sister that ended up getting killed by the Twilight Hunts, and you know she remembers that, and then she just starts crying really hard for that. And then, you know, I think at that point she forgives Delico and Yang, and then now she has a renewed purpose to go look for them. So that was a good thing to see there. So the fight, they go back to the fight, and then Delico can't help but look on to see that that Nicholas is just so overpowering right now, that he's moving at a speed he's never seen before, you know, from Nick. It's like, man, what did this guy do in a short amount of time to get this strong, you know? And he's just wondering, you know. And then this is the part where we learn more about the drug. So basically, Dr. Theo, you know, back at the clinic, he pretty much tells Warwick about why Nick ran off. He's like, yeah, I gave him this drug, and then, you know, it's in experimental stages right now, but it's really supposed to heighten the abilities of the person that uses it. Like, they get super strength, they have super vision, they have super hearing, like, yeah. And even though it gives you all this strength, it's still, it's only a limited time. You can still get seizures, you can still hallucinate, you can still go crazy once the drug wears off. However, the chances of you dying of it should still be slim. So in that essence, so he's just trying to figure out how good this medicine is, how good this drug might end up being. Alright, where did I leave off? And Warwick's like, man, I can't. Warwick basically tells Theo, like, I can't lose Nick, man. Like, we've been together for so long. We've been through a lot of shit. I just can't lose him. And Dr. Theo basically tells him, yeah, you know, he's your shield, man. He's trying to protect you. The only reason he's out there to do this is because of you. I mean, he's taking this experimental drug to cover all your medical expenses. I mean, and that's the reason why I decided to help him, you know. And of course, you know, Warwick, he didn't really appreciate that. He didn't really appreciate the fact that he's giving him all these drugs that could likely kill Nick. He's like, man, you're a terrible doctor, man. And then, of course, Dr. Theo, you know, with his not giving a damn, he's like, man, I have no interest in dead men. Yeah, that was pretty cold-blooded comment there. So we go back to the fight, and now this is where everything changes here. Nick finally is able to subdue Michael, and he does this by cutting off both his ankles. Not completely, but kind of like the Achilles tendon part. He cuts off Michael's ankles, and Michael, they fight in midair. He cuts his ankles while in the air. He falls down. Michael tries to get back up, but he can't get up because he realizes like both his legs are cut, so he has no power to walk. And so he's pretty much gone. He's not dead, but you know, he can't fight no more. And after seeing that, Delico goes in. He hits Michael with a downer to make him fall asleep. And Erica tries to kill Delico from there. So she sees that. She's like, you ain't about to do that. So she almost kills Delico, but then Nick is fast enough to stop it, get in between him, and deflect her attack. So nice save from Nick. And then finally we hear a mysterious voice. We hear a voice telling Erica to stop. She needs to back off. You know, stand down. And then the voice later on says he's impressed to see Delico and Yang go so far as to finding Erica and to find the warehouse where all the Twilight buyers were being dumped and they were being counted. And this is the shocker of the whole chapter right here. It's none other than one of the four families, the four protectorates of the Twilights in GANGSTA. It's Daniel Monroe. And that's the end of chapter 32. Now going into chapter 33, we cut to Loretta talking with Inspector Atkins. I can't remember exactly where this is. I think this is at Bastard. So yeah, she's basically talking to Inspector Atkins because they're still trying to, like, even she's trying to find Connie for Marco. She's trying to find Connie. So she pays Inspector Atkins for all the phone records that that Connie has accumulated for the past 2 days, so they can find a trace of where she might be. And so they do that. They make the transaction. And then sometime later, Ward calls Loretta, and she's wondering, how did, like, Dr. Theo, like, he's not supposed to call this number. How do you get this number? But it turns out it was Ward. So Ward basically is telling her what everything's going on so far. And his plan is to also, like Nick, they need to catch one of the hunters so that they can find a lead on Connie, because that's the number one concern right now. Where is Connie? And so Loretta agrees with him, and then she tells I guess her driver to kind of turn around and go back to the club right quick. So we go back to the fight. The end of the fight, we go back to the District 7, and then this is where we get to see Nick. He's starting to get sick from taking that experimental drug. He's starting to see double vision. He's getting real lethargic. And so, because Monroe shows up, and then we later see Ivan right behind him, and Erica approaches Ivan, you know, because I guess, you know, Ivan is in total control of Erica. And so, upon seeing that, Delico, he's asking Monroe, like, what are you doing? You know, why are you here? You know? And so basically, Monroe basically just told him straight up, like, it was me that kidnapped your sister. I'm the one that kidnapped Erica. Not him himself, but his men. Like back then when they were children, his own men kidnapped Erica. So they separated Erica and Delico. So that's basically what happened. And Delico couldn't believe, like, what? You know, like, he was speechless from there. And yes, even Ivan confirms that too. He also he says something like this. He says that do you honestly believe that Monroe would get caught off guard so easily by a hunter infiltration, meaning like a Twilight hunt? Why would you honestly believe a guy of his status in this city would get caught off guard so easily by some orphanage attack? Because, you know, Delico and Erica were orphans. So, like, yeah, he wouldn't be dumb enough. He wouldn't be foolish enough to let something like that ruin his reputation, you know. And of course, then Ivan says, yeah, we even have Loretta Cristiano. We have the Cristiano family, and we have Gina Parkley from the Parkley Guild. They think that it's still Corsica behind all these Twilight hunts. They still think it's him. And Ivan's like, these some stupid bitches. That's basically what he's telling them. Like, they're dumb as hell to think that it's just Corsica. And then, and Delico's pissed off from there. Like, he wants Ivan to shut the hell up. And he was going to shoot him. And he wanted Monroe to order him to shoot Ivan. Like, he was yelling at his boss, like, give me the order to shoot him. And then this is probably the biggest line of the whole entire volume right here, guys. Ivan pretty much confirms that he's getting it in with Erica. Like, they're sexual partners. So he pretty much says this, and in quote, "It's pretty weird to see a guy every morning who has the same face as a girl I fuck every night." Now, do you need to rewind that, or do I need to repeat that? I guess I do. Yeah, it's pretty weird to see a guy every morning who has the same face as the girl I fuck every night. And the look on Delico's face is worth 1,000 words, man. Like, wow, what a way to insult somebody. Man. And so, in response to that, Yang, he barges in between Delico, and surprisingly, he's about to shoot Daniel Monroe. He's about to shoot his own boss. He's about to kill him. But this is what happens. So basically, when he's about to shoot, Delico instinctively shoots the back of Yang. Like, he didn't even give it a second thought. He shoots Yang, going in between him and his boss, Daniel Monroe, his old boss now. And he shoots him 3 times, I believe, and then he's laying on the ground bleeding behind his back. And I was like, wow, I mean, that was crazy. And so Monroe, after seeing that, man, he's praising Delico for being such a good boy and being a lapdog. And he's like, all these years, you honestly believe that I could be like your father? Like, you honestly like the fact that I was feeding you that father and son bullshit all these years? It's like, you really are useless and pathetic. And Delico is in total disarray after this. Like, he just shot his own best friend behind the back just to protect, what he looked up to pretty much as a father figure. It was that bad. It was really that bad. And upon hearing those gunshots, Loretta and Galahad hear the gunshots because they're nearby the district. And Galahad's on the cell phone. They're actually separate. He's on the cell phone calling Loretta, "Hey, I heard gunfire. You need to come over here." And things like that. And then also the little girl Heather hears the gunshots too, and then and I guess this is how she was able to find that warehouse, by hearing those gunshots from Delico hitting Yang. And so upon this, after all that, we see Nick using his last bit of consciousness to try to kill Monroe. But Monroe, man, he's nicknamed Gunslinger Danny for a reason. Like, man, he sees him coming and he basically shoots down Nick. One bullet, I think he shot him in the shoulder, I think. Or it might have been, I don't know if it was an actual bullet or not, but he shoots Nick. And Nick is down. He wasn't getting back up because he was already feeling the effects of that new drug. That new upper. And so Ivan's looked like, damn. I mean, I don't want to get on this guy's bad side. He said something interesting. He said even in his weakened state, he was still able to pin down a Twilight. He was still able to A-rank Twilight at that. Nick is considered A-rank Twilight, even though we know he's not an A-rank. If we looked in later chapters, we find out his from Galahad, he's really more like a B5, actually a B2 or B3 at best. So he's not a true class A-rank Twilight. It's like, yeah, I don't want to get on his bad side. Oh, look how easily he took down this bitch. look how easily he messed up this dude, man. Like, damn. And of course, Delico is so remorseful for shooting up Yang, man. And pretty much satisfied at what happened. Monroe feels like, yeah, it's time to leave. Let's get out of here. You know, all these years, man, I've been looking after you, you and your and Yang and stuff, but this just goes to show that the flowable blood in your veins, that twilight blood, and you guys are nothing more than beasts. You're just beasts, and you all need to die, man. You gotta go. You know, I racked up a big enough body count, twilight body count, to satisfy them. Now, who's them? That could be the government, or that could be somebody else that we don't really know yet. But it could be the government. I'm not quite sure what Dr. Monroe. I keep calling him Doctor Daniel Monroe. I'm not sure what Daniel Monroe is saying by saying that. I'm not sure what he's thinking. But that's probably something we'll have to check out sometime later when we read Volume 7. So, you know, then he notices, he looks on it, before he leaves, Monroe looks on the ground, he notices Nick has that upper in his hand. He took that shot, and then Monroe knows about Dr. Theo. He knows that Dr. Theo is the one that's giving Nick this drug. Like, you dumbass, like, come on, Theo, you fucking troublemaker. That's pretty much what he's saying. And Ivan is like, hey, do we need to worry about Nick? Like, is he still trying to chase us? And Daniel Monroe is like, nah, man, he's fucked up. He's played out. It's been 12 minutes. He's played out. You know, we ain't gotta worry about him. And upon seeing Erica, Ivan, and Monroe leave, Michael he regains consciousness from the downer. He regains consciousness and he still can't walk, but he looks up and he sees Erica and the other two men leave, and he's calling for Erica. He's like, Erica, what are you guys doing? Wait for me. Like, aren't you gonna come get me? And Ivan turns around and he's like, man, shut up, you little piece of shit. We're not taking you. You can die where you are right now, motherfucker. I was like, man, Ivan don't give no fucks. And that's the end of chapter 33. It was a highly action-packed chapter. And this is the last chapter in the volume, chapter 34. So this part here, we see this confirms that Constance, for the time being, is still alive, because it shows a scene where she's untied. She's no longer hogtied, but she stabs Sig. And Sig does not like that. You know, he calls it, I hate that, you fucking normal. And then of course Stryker and Beretta are sitting there and they're laughing at her because she messed around and got stabbed by Constance. And you know, I think they're just playing with Connie, man. Like, they're just trying to mess with her and stuff. And so she's pretty much getting messed up, man. So later on, Loretta, Galahad, Heather, they actually rendezvous. I think they meet at the same time in that warehouse area. So it's Loretta, Galahad, Heather, and I think Nina. No, it wasn't Nina. I think it was just them. They all find, and Marco. I forgot about him. Marco. They all find Nick, Delico, and Yang, and they notice that Nick and Yang need immediate medical attention. Like, they need it really bad. And so they rescue those guys. They take them back to Dr. Theo's. And so yeah, so Dr. Theo takes all those guys in, and Nina, his assistant, later shows up, and he's telling them, why are you late? Like, you need to get ready. We got to get surgery. We got to save this guy, and things like that. And so Dr. Theo and Nina, they start the operation on Yang because he's about to he's about to die. They don't know if he's gonna make it. And they also get Michael too. They bring the Twilight that got hurt. They bring him along because they need to find a lead on Connie. But the kid is so distraught. He's so scared because he got abandoned by Erica. Like, he's not saying anything. So his state of mind right now is just not there right now. He can't talk. For the time being, he's just useless. And so we see a scene with Loretta and Marco. You know, they're about to leave. They're about to head back to Bastard because they pretty much said, well, I'm glad we saved those guys. We pretty much done all we can. And then Marco, you know, he thanked Loretta for everything that he's doing, you know, for trying to help him out and try to get Connie back, because, you know, him and Connie are very tight. They're very close. You know, they're pretty much boyfriend and girlfriend. But, you know, Loretta's like, hey, it's all right. Things like that. And then Galahad is treating Heather because I guess he's treating her little small wounds or whatnot. I'm not sure. Actually, there was a scene earlier in chapter 33 where she actually got punched in the face by a normal, because she went through the commercial district area of that city, or Gastelum, so she got punched in the nose. So I think he was treating that. And so later on, she goes upstairs and she spots Delico, and he's sitting there because he was trying to get treated, but he didn't want to get treated because he kept telling Warwick was the one that was trying to treat him, like back at the clinic. So he's like, he kept telling him, man, his state of mind was still bad off. He's like, it's not my blood, man. It's not my blood. He just kept repeating it because it was actually Yang's blood. Because I don't think Delico got hurt in any of the fights that we saw early in this volume. He didn't get hurt at all, so he probably was telling the truth. But at the same time, he was just so out of it. He was so down from what happened. And so Heather, upon seeing Delico in the roof, like he's just sitting there motionless, she goes up there and gives him a blanket and to wrap around, to keep warm. And then she has her own little blanket, and then they're sitting side by side. So very heartwarming scene there. It's good to see that Delico made a new friend in Heather, and she cares about him, just as much as he cared about her during the time that they met. And so from there, this is the part where Nick, the next scene, this is where Nick is starting to have a seizure from that new drug, the A2710. And so Dr. Theo's trying to restrain him, and Warwick is trying to restrain him because he finds out Nick is having a seizure. So he's trying to get a hold of him. And then Dr. Theo just can't help but look at Nick. He's like, man, this drug must have failed. He's having a seizure. It looks like he may not make it. But there's a scene where Nick is struggling, but while he's getting struggling, he starts grinning. And so that means, yeah, he's gonna make it. So he's not dying. And Dr. Theo kind of has a relieved look afterwards, like, okay. What I can tell is like, okay, maybe it's not such. Maybe it wasn't a failure after all. Like he's not about to die. And so he continues the surgery on Yang with Nina. And so Warwick's still trying to get a hold of Nick. Like, man, he's like, man, you gotta snap out of it, man. I'm getting so sick of you doing this crap, having these seizures and whatnot. All of a sudden, Alex comes in. She arrives at the clinic, and she sees Nick struggling and stuff. It's like, she pretty much tells Warwick to get out of the way. Like, you need to move. And then all of a sudden, she holds Nick's hands, and Nick is holding her hands really, really tight. And Warwick gets worried, like, man, he's gonna break your hand. It's like, I was like, I don't care, like, shut up. And so for a moment there, Nick is looking at Alex, and then for that split moment, he sees Veronica, the Twilight that you saw in the volume 1, I believe it was volume 1, and also one of the first episodes of the anime, at the brothel, Miss Georgiana's brothel, where she's still unconscious. She's still like in a coma state. But at this moment, he sees her alive. Nick sees her alive, and he sees that resemblance through Alex. And I think it was because of that he was able to calm down, and he finally stops holding the hand of Alex so strong, and he ends up falling asleep. And so that was the end of that. So pretty much a confirmation that that there's definitely something going on between Alex and Nicholas as far as a romance might go. So that was cool to see there. And the very last part of this chapter, we go back to Bastard again. Loretta is back at work. Her subordinates are very happy to see her and things like that. And interesting enough, they get a package. And one of the subordinates is like, hey, here's a package for you. And then, Galahad's worried, like, hey, that might be a bomb. Don't open that package. And Loretta's like, silly, that's no bomb. And if it was a bomb, it would have exploded by now, even after I opened it up. And so once they open it up and Loretta see what's in there, and then like, Galahad, hey, what are you looking at? And he's like, they both look, and they have this huge, nasty look on their face, like their eyes are bulged out. I was like, holy crap. And so Marco comes in there later on. He's like, hey, what's going on? Like, what are you guys looking at? And Loretta knows who it is right off the bat. It's like, don't look at that bag. Please, Marco, don't look at the bag. Whatever you do, don't look at that bag. But Marco still wants to see it. So he goes in there, And inside the bag, it's Connie's left arm. Yeah, I think it's her left arm, and it's chopped off completely. And there's an inscription in of her flesh, and it reads, what does it say? Yeah, waiting for you at that place. So we know that was all Stryker and Beretta's work doing. The Destroyers, that was all they're doing. And that's the end of the chapter, and that's also the end of volume 6. So yeah, this conversation went on for a little bit of half an hour. Yeah, I knew it was gonna be long, but thanks everybody for sticking through this. And you know, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, you know, please continue to support the series. You know, volume 7 I think is coming out in the summer of 2016, July 19th I believe. And you can get all these volumes online, you know, as far as buying them on Amazon.com. And I hope you guys enjoyed this review. You know, I certainly enjoyed this volume. I clearly thought this was like the best volume so far in this series. You know, it was kind of disappointing that in the anime that they ended at volume 5 instead of volume 6, because volume 6 is like the real twist in this whole series, man. Volume 6 is crazy. I enjoyed it immensely. And so with that said, I hope you guys take care, and if you have any other requests that you would like for me to do, I'll be more than glad to take the time to do it, you know. And shout out to Dan the Man Reviews for making me want to do this review here, man. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, guys. Thanks.